Welcome to our program, Near-Death Experiences, Exploring Heavens and the Afterlife, Part 15 of a multi-part series. For centuries, humans have had a mystical curiosity about the afterlife. We have many questions and always wonder what is there for us after we leave this physical body and journey beyond death. Today, we have the incredible privilege of hearing firsthand from people who have had near-death experiences or NDEs. These individuals have visited the other side and are here to share their life-changing experiences with us. In this series, we explore their NDEs and hear about their personal experience of meeting God and traveling to the afterlife.
Most people, when they have a near-death experience, and they come back to the physical life, they remember what God told them to do. And they should have done that all their life already. But they did not. That's why they had to have mostly horrible death to pay for all the sins, that they have done.
Right.
And then God has to remind them, okay, now that's it, the last warning, the last chance for you to do the things that you have been assigned to before you were born.
Yes, Master.
That's why most of near-death people die horribly. The accidents, their whole body sometimes are all broken. And the doctor thinks they will never live again. And they actually die. They die for some time. Sometimes for 20 minutes, sometimes more, sometimes for many hours. And come back to life again.
Yes, Master.
Even if the doctor already pronounced them dead, clinically dead. Meaning no more brain function, no more heart beat, nothing.
Yes, Master.
They're really dead. But because they have the horrible death, terrible accident and all that, so they somehow cleanse some of their sins. And God gives them the chance again to remember what they have to do. Like they have to maybe write a book to remind whoever buys it that they have to be virtuous. They have to live well. They have to remember God.
Thank you, most precious Master, for sharing your divine knowledge with us about near-death experiences. Today, we will present selections inspired by our most beloved Supreme Master Ching Hai, Vegan. We begin with the NDE of Daniel Giroux. In November 1994, while cutting down a tree in the forest, Daniel Giroux knew he had made a grave miscalculation. When he looked up, he saw the tree coming down straight towards him. As the tree fell, it struck Mr. Giroux on the side of the head and sent him into the air. He soon discovered he was no longer in his body.
What I noticed is that I didn't lose consciousness. I didn't feel death. I didn't feel myself dying. I felt no pain whatsoever. I just continued to exist. All I saw was my body. And then everything just turned black.
After entering an indescribable void of darkness, Mr. Giroux experienced an overwhelming feeling of bliss and love, followed by the realization that death is not the end of our existence.
And then, right after that, followed love. That feeling of love. A profound love. It was just so vast. That was the greatest surprise in my world. I actually live on. I am consciousness. I live on. My body is nothing. It was nothing.
Mr. Giroux then felt his consciousness rapidly expand. And then suddenly, he was looking out onto a multitude of galaxies.
I'd see galaxies like pinpoints of light, and each one had a different shape, different size, and it was just opening up and opening up and opening up. And at one point, I was overwhelmed. There was, I'll say, billions upon billions upon billions. I saw, I'll use this term, the edge of the galaxy, but it's not an edge. It was potential of creation, is all I can say.
The next place Mr. Giroux traveled to was a place he calls home.
I did go to what I call home. I call it home. There was a rock And I remember sitting on that rock, and there was a woman sitting beside me. I also remember a building, a cottage. She explained to me, she said, the cottage represents your total existence. She says, every line in the wood that you see represents your path in a lifetime. And everywhere I look around the cottage, I could see these lines that intersecting all over the place. And wow, this is so amazing. And I said, I created this? And she says, yes, you did. Because everything ever done is represented in that cottage. And I thought, oh, it's just the most amazing thing.
Mr. Giroux then heard a voice say, "You must go back. There is more for you to do." At this point, Mr. Giroux did not want to go back to his physical body on earth, even though he had a wife and a 2-year-old son at the time. He was at ease, knowing that once they were dead, they would also be returning to the glorious afterlife.
They're going to be fine. They're coming to where I am now. They're going to be fine.
Right after that, Mr. Giroux's consciousness snapped back into his physical body. He describes the feeling of heaviness when entering his body.
I was weightless. In my NDE, I was weightless. One thing that stood out so much in my NDE was that weightlessness. But I came back to my body and it was so heavy.
Mr. Giroux shares an essential lesson he learned through his near-death experience.
There's only one creative force in the universe, and that is love. That's the only creative force there is. There is no other. Fear destroys. Love creates.
We appreciate you, Mr. Giroux, for sharing your profound near-death experience and the importance of always being the creative force of love. We continue with the near-death experience of Dr. Mary Neal. Dr. Mary Neal is a board-certified spinal surgeon and best-selling author who has inspired millions with her incredible adventure to the afterlife. Her story was featured in the 2023 near-death experience film, After Death, as well as many national news and media outlets.
I never felt alive and then dead. I felt alive and then more alive.
In 1999, Dr. Neal was on a kayaking trip in Chile to celebrate her husband's birthday. On the final excursion, Mary's kayak was first off course and tumbled over a waterfall. She became pinned with her boat under 8 to 10 feet of rushing water, unable to free herself. At that moment, knowing she was going to die, Mary called out to God.
It seems like there are no options, but I always did have an option, and we all have an option to turn toward God or turn away. And I asked that God's will be done. I absolutely gave up trying to control the outcome and moved into this emotional state of absolute trust and reliance in God's will, regardless of what that meant.
At that moment, Dr. Neal felt a presence comfort her and let her know everything will be all right.
I was immediately overcome with a very physical sensation of being held and comforted and reassured that everything was fine. My husband would be fine, my young children would be fine, regardless of whether I lived or died. And I knew without any doubt that I was being held by Christ.
This led Dr. Neal to a surprising revelation about God's love for all of us.
On this earth, we learn very quickly that love is conditional and things have to be earned. But God tells us we don't have to earn his love. And it is true. I felt, first of all, like I was this precious, beautiful baby, this beautiful child of God that was being held and comforted and reassured. And Jesus was pouring his very soul into me. It was amazing. And it was amazing to know that that would be anyone who asked, not just me.
Dr. Neil was then shown her life review, which revealed to her the opportunity for growth within the challenging circumstances of our lives.
I was taken through a life review that had nothing to do with judgment and everything to do with understanding and knowledge and grace. And then, I was also shown again and again the beauty that came out of every single incident in my life that I'd been shown. And these were all the really wounding, terrible incidents in my life. And it was very profound.
While all this was occurring, Dr. Neil could still feel herself underwater in the kayak. However, what happened next she describes as remarkable.
And then I could feel my body being sucked over the front deck of the boat. While that was happening, I could feel my spirit peeling away from my body. And eventually my spirit, my soul, my essence, whatever you want to call it, broke free. And I rose up and out of the river. And it was as though Jesus sort of released me to the heavens. And it was the most wonderful feeling I've ever had.
When Dr. Neil's soul rose out of the water, she was greeted by her family members on the other side.
I was immediately greeted by a group of people or spirits, beings, who were so overjoyed to welcome me home. I know that they had loved me and known me as long as I have existed. And these people or spirits started taking me down this beautiful pathway that exploded with colors and flowers and the aromas of flowers, which is what speaks beauty to my soul. And I absolutely believe that God presents to each one of us the experience at the time of our death that does speak beauty to us, that lets us know that we are known and loved.
Dr. Neil was miraculously revived after being underwater for 30 minutes. Upon returning to her physical body, she shares her most important transformation from the NDE.
My most important transformation was moving from hope or a faith in God's promises to an absolute trust. I am free from bitterness, hate, anger, even minor irritation that people have caused me. And I don't have worry or anxiety about my future because I trust that God has a plan for my life that is one of hope.
Thank you, Dr. Mary Neal, for reminding us of our true heavenly home and that each one of us is fully known and unconditionally loved by God. For more information on Dr. Mary Neal, please visit www.drmaryneal.com.
Vegan, why is your aura so bright?
Uplifting viewers, thank you for joining us for near-death experiences, exploring heavens and the afterlife, part 15 of the multi-part series.